what gets created next. It's really what will be able to, one, make our lives easier, two, what will make the users' lives easier, and three, what can we do that will allow us to scale faster and impact more industries and more users in a way that fits within our budget and our lean budget. So it's a little bit of budgetary, and it's a little bit of what can we do that is going to make everybody's lives easier.
Are you a scaling SaaS founder? Ready to make the leap from leading a team to leading an organization? Join us each week as we refill your think tank with actionable tips and strategies from great business minds you know and those who don't know yet. This is SaaS Fuel with your host, 5-time entrepreneur, SaaS founder, and globetrotting adventurer, Jeff Maines.
Welcome back to the SaaS Fuel podcast, where team dynamics aren't just soft skills. They're the unspoken Wi-Fi of your business, essential, invisible, and absolute chaos when it's down. I'm your host, Jeff Maines. I hope B2B SaaS founders like you grow from traction to scale. Here, growth is more than just numbers. It's about crafting a future-proof company, premium valuation, and leaders who build a business of significance while living epic, adventurous lives. Hanging out this week with a group of founders and entrepreneurs and CEOs and the people at the top of their game. I love these times, just from the things that I learned and lessons and hearing from people in other industries and how they're seeing the world, and able to take that back to my team and clients and share that. So it's just absolutely fantastic at a place called Area 42. So it's almost as secret as Area 51, maybe a little more, but like 9 less, I don't know. But why is it that so many teams struggle with alignment, even when everybody seems very, very qualified on paper? In this episode, we explore how behavioral science is reshaping team dynamics and leadership development in the modern workplace. It's not about surface level personality tests or generic labels. It's about going deeper. We'll dig into the Strategic Personality Blueprint, a tool designed to bridge personal values and company culture, revealing the nuances that actually drive collaboration, decision-making, and trust. You'll hear why misalignment costs companies hundreds of billions of dollars every year, and how better insight into human behavior can dramatically reduce turnover. Also improves communication and boosts performance, which is something we all want. This isn't just theory, it's a call to build smarter, more intentional teams. We also dive into the growing role of AI in people operations and why understanding what makes us human is more important than ever. As technology becomes more integrated, knowing how to distinguish your team's unique, non-automatable strengths becomes a massive competitive advantage. And if you've ever tried to explain tech meets coaching meets psychometrics product to investors, you'll relate to the challenge of positioning innovative solutions in ways that resonate. It's a great take on that. This episode is for leaders who want to go beyond buzzwords and build organizations where people feel seen, aligned, and empowered to do their best work. Our expert guest last Thursday was Jeff Holman, founder of Intellectual Strategies and the mind behind the fractional legal team model for startups. Jeff shared what founders most often miss when it comes to IP, why documentation isn't optional, and how to scale without stepping into legal quicksand. He also broke down how AI is reshaping legal services and where the human layer still matters most. And our founder last week was James Piacentino, CEO of Thrive Genetics, who revealed how personalized medicine can change the way we approach addiction risk. From genetic scoring to behavioral insights, James walked us through a new approach to pain management and how his father's story became the company's mission. Absolute fantastic SaaS in what he's doing there. If you missed either episode, go back and check him out. Really good stuff. My guest today is Rachel Edwards, founder of INSPIRI and the creator of the Strategic Personality Blueprint, a patent-pending platform that turns psychometric data into business strategy. Very cool stuff. With a background that spans criminal justice, behavioral systems, coaching, and mindfulness, Rachel brings a rare blend of technical depth and human insight to the future of team performance. After refining the Strategic Personality Blueprint with real clients across sectors, she's now scaling it as a SaaS platform to help leaders, educators, and teams make better decisions with data that reflects the real people behind the roles. welcome someone who's translating human behavior into business intelligence, Rachel Edwards. Welcome to SaaS Fuel.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm really excited to talk to you today. You created INSPIRI to give a holistic view of human behavior using multiple personality frameworks. So it's not just like one, like personality tests that we're used to.
Right.
So what was the original problem or insight that kind of pushed you to build it?
Well, I come from a coaching background, and while I was working with my clients, I was trying to figure out a way that I could not only help me deeply understand my clients, but also guide them while we're making action plans and setting goals. And I looked at a variety of, there are thousands of personality assessments out there. And I looked at getting certified in any number of them, DISC, Enneagram, Myers-Briggs. But what I kept coming across was that they were all, while they're all very, very good at pinpointing and understanding what they aim to measure and look at, whether it's behavior or traits, they're all very siloed and one-sided. And I pondered, well, isn't there anything out there that takes a holistic view of how somebody is wired from multiple angles, multiple layers deep, how those various parts of our personality interact and influence each other, how they show up. And then from that, we can get specific strategies and techniques that will work for them, how they're wired, as opposed to, we're all trained in certain coaching modalities, but not all those techniques are going to work for everybody. So that was the problem I kept running up against. Was we need a system. I wanted a system that would allow me to look at somebody from multiple angles and then truly understand how they're wired, and then be able to provide the best strategy and planning for them to really thrive.
Really, really good. Yeah, that's a really astute observation as well, because there are people that love DISC, or they love Enneagram, or they love, Colby A, or, whatever it may be, they have theirs. Yeah. But I think any one of those single things misses so much,
right?
Because there's just so much that people have to offer.
Right.
People are a lot of depth in who they are and how they perform. So I love that you're able to take that and blend it.
Yes.
How did you come about putting that together and doing it where they just answer, the one, they don't have to go do all the ones individually and then kind of bring the results together?
Yeah. So it was as anything is when you build it, it's multiple different stages. We tested things, we threw them out, we came up with different options, but ultimately we came up with a way and came up with one single assessment where it will capture 5 different assessments in one, though you're only taking one assessment. So like you said, you're not going to have to take the DISC or Enneagram or any of the other assessments. It's all in one. And then from that, we are able to obtain the various points of their personality. We measure their behaviors, their traits, motivations, core values, and their strengths. And we settled on we created our own proprietary strengths and core values assessment. But then we settled on DISC, Enneagram, and Big 5 traits as sound instruments measuring those domains of their personality. And so when people bring up, well, like you said, they're very loyal to their certain assessments, I say kudos. I love those assessments so much so that I put some of them into my into our full assessment.
Smart.
Because I love what they do, and they can examine, and they're experts in what they're measuring, but I wanted to let them work even better and let them see, for instance, how the different domains interact, and how does somebody's motivations or their values impact the behavior that they see, and really being able to understand that point allows a coach or a leader or an organization to better lead and guide their people.
Very cool. And the end result is the strategic personality blueprint. And that's the report that blends everything together.
Yes. Yep. It's the whole system. That's what the brain behind
Gotcha.
the system. So you have the master assessment, we call it the SPB assessment. And then you have the report that comes out of it in its current phase as we stand now. When we create the platform, everything that comes in that assessment will essentially be dynamic and evolving and moving pieces. So you'll be able to have your own coaching assistant or your own team advisor in your pocket that evolves with the user to truly understand that person from the different angles and their life experiences. Because that is one thing that we also stand apart from a lot of the other assessments is they are really good at, taking your general Likert scale questions and answering, on a scale from 1 to 5 or whatnot, and measuring that.
Right.
We go one step further and we ask open-ended questions to connect to their real world experience, because that too impacts and influences how they show up and how they behave and interact with their world.
Wow, that's far better than a lot of the static assessments that we're kind of used to that are that scale.
Right.
And maybe before it was too difficult to process the free-form text and the open-ended questions,
Yeah.
But now AI makes that a whole lot easier.
Yes.
But it also can evolve life experiences,
Yes.
and you do it again, and we see that I think with other assessments is you take it again and you get different insights. But something like this, especially with the open-ended part, you could really see a lot of growth or transformation along the way.
Absolutely. And that's like you said, that's one of the pillars that we're standing on, is that we do evolve. Humans are not static snapshots in time. We are dynamic, growing individuals that are constantly impacted by our experiences, and they shape who we are. A good example for a time that either you would maybe retake the assessment, or even if you were just to input a life experience into the engine, the meta-analysis engine is what we call it, into your blueprint.
Okay.
If you were to have a child, that's a ginormous life experience, right? So if you were childless before, now you had a child, your values may shift, the way you behave may shift. And so taking a static snapshot in time of one part of somebody's personality is good for that moment, but it doesn't give us the full picture. It's kind of like if I were to show you, Jeff, an apple, a pear, and a pepper, and I use this in my presentation, so it may fall flat because you can't see them. But let's say that they're all of the green variety, and I ask, if I want you to shout out the first thing you see that describes all of these items, and most of the time it's green. And so I equate that's like using one assessment. Let's say it's DISC, and all three of these fruit could all be high DISC Ds, but they could all have completely different motivations and traits and values that are going to show up and be influence the way that maybe they communicate, what strategies they need, what they need to process information. So looking beyond the labels, or the gaps between the labels, I like to say, is we bridge the gaps between the labels, because life and growth happens behind the labels.
That is really, really smart. It's a great visual picture too. I mean, just thinking about that, and even though they may look the same, slightly different shapes, but all kind of the same shade, you have very different. There are different places in development. If you got a green orange, it's different than a pepper, different than an apple. Because the first thing I thought apple was red,
right?
And then they're all green,
right?
And just kind of thinking about what does that all mean as far as their development, their taste, their flavor, their uses? Very, very different.
Yep, exactly. Just like people.
Yeah. So looking at one dimension is
Yeah.
good, but there's so much more.
There's so much more. And when you
So
can
how does a
unlock,
company or a manager actually use that in day-to-day hiring or team management?
so that is a great question. And that is an area that we are focusing really hard on helping leaders and HR and learning development teams really understanding the people behind the products, the processes, and the profits. Understanding that if you don't understand your people, how can you lead them with what they need? So when we work with a team, they're able to, each individual employee or team member will receive their own individual blueprint. And that blueprint is private to that employee. It doesn't get shared with leadership, which is one thing I feel like we honor individuals' privacy. And a lot of times, different assessments, the employee will think, well, the entire leadership is going to see all of my results, so that might skew how they answer the question. So it might not even be true
Of course.
when the team leader is trying to understand. But then secondary on top of that, we run another analysis that really shows how the team is set up. So you can see where the team lies in, what motivates the team as a whole, or where do they sit as far as how detail oriented the team is, and or how do they like to process information, where as a whole. And then as a leader, they get high level view of their employee so they can understand what that employee needs to thrive, what they need to be supported when they're under, in a stressful situation, what can help them navigate a stressful situation without having to know all the details of the specific answers to their assessments. They just know what they need to help their employee thrive. And then what I love about it is, when you get that big layer picture of your team, you can understand what you need moving forward, whether that's what strategies you need to improve communication or collaboration, or if you have a project coming up, you can find which people are going to thrive in different phases of that project, who to take lead at different times. Or if you're hiring, you can understand how to hire. You can hire strategically because you can see where your team sits. And so often when we're hiring, we look at somebody's experience and somebody's skills, which is vital. But we need to understand, and we should take into account anyway, how that person will fit in with the team as a whole. And so you can see where that individual will fit in that team, or who you need to bring harmony to your team. Maybe you have a lot of detail-oriented people, but you don't have any really big picture thinkers. So looking for somebody that has that sense to bring some harmony to the team.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. One of the things that you did in launching the company is you actually brought it to market launch before building out the tech and blowing it up, and really made it more focused on solution instead of just scaling up tech. What was that like? And then what did it teach you about real world product fit?
So that's part of the reason that we took that approach, is because I'm not a tech person. I don't have a tech background. I have a coach background. I have a behavioral science background. I've always been fascinated by why people do what they do.
Very cool.
But I have enough sense, and I think that, not to tangent, but I think that it's important as an important motivator, or for those who are out there who are thinking they have an idea that they want to bring, but they might not have all the skills, especially if they're not tech backgrounds. They can have some inspiration that you can have an idea too, and work with the tools you do know and you do have to bring it to market. So I took it it's in our white glove phase currently, where I had enough sense and I understood assessments and behavior to be able to create something for myself to use and for others to use that we can gather the information and the feedback to help create a product when we do launch it, with already almost having like a leg up, because we've already been able to gather the feedback in this manual version and show the market wants something like this. There's a need for it. So instead of going, like you said, to get go and building something from tech and then saying we have this, we're almost kind of flipping it and showing that, there's a market fit. People want this, and we're using it now. Imagine what the want will be when it's in a fully fledged platform and a tool.
Right. Yeah. Fully automated. Well, it's good. I think it's really smart in the way that you've done that, and that it's finely tuned, and where some founders will make the mistake of, we want to automate everything, get that out there, and it's all technology, and so they end up having to redo a bunch of stuff because they take all of the learning happens after they've already built it, and like, oh, we should have done that differently. And so where you're able to do it and provide that great experience and real value without automating the wrong things. And so as you're building that automation and really, continuing to productize the offering, I think it's much better because you've already proven it with a model that works and really shown the value of what you're doing. So you're really building the thing that you already know people want. Balancing innovation with technical reality can be a really tough thing. What's been your approach to deciding what gets built next versus what kind of stays aspirational for now and gets included later?
Yeah, so I think for us, it's what can we get that will get built that will allow us to make the biggest impact with the not to bring dollars into it, but with the leanest ability that we have, but that can make the biggest impact. And the first thing for us is obviously creating an engine that will automate the process and allow me to not expend as much energy running all of the analyses and scoring manually. And really, it's what we can scale, what will allow us to scale fastest with the tools and resources we have currently, is the simplest answer I think that we can put out there.
Are you missing key relationships that could transform your leadership? Most leaders are. They just can't see it. And here's what shocked me. The most successful leaders aren't lone heroes. They're the center of 4 specific relationships that multiply their impact while preserving their sanity. You're probably like everybody else, drowning in connections, but starving for real support. And it's creating a silent epidemic of leadership burnout among executives just like you. So, take my free assessment at thecaptainskeys.com. Discover which critical relationships you're missing in under 5 minutes, and then grab my new book, The Captain's Keys, part Netflix drama, part game-changing blueprint for leadership that actually sustains you. One CEO called it the owner's manual I never got. So stop flying blind and see what you're missing. Well, balancing innovation with technical reality is definitely a tough thing to do as a founder. What's been your approach to deciding what gets built next versus what stays aspirational for now and maybe gets done at some point in the future?
Yeah, so for our company, we are built very lean to begin with. And I do a lot of things manually currently. I do everything manually. I manually score the assessments. I run the meta-analysis. I create the reports. I deliver the reports. And so for us, when we are thinking about what gets created next, it's really what will be able to, 1, make our lives easier, 2, what will make the users' lives easier, and 3, what can we do that will allow us to scale faster and impact more industries and more users in a way that fits within our budget and our lean budget. So it's a little bit of budgetary, and it's a little bit of what can we do that is going to make everybody's lives
I
easier.
like that. One of the things you talked about in the assessments was values and building that into the assessment. So really matching the values of the person to the company. And how have your own values and your value system shaped the company's mission and product direction?
Yeah, so I think out of the assessments we use, values are there. I like to say they all weighed equally, but I love the values apart. I think they really are our individually, they are our beacons, our guiding posts, they are our principles, how we go through life and make decisions. So when you're goal setting, action planning, etc., they come in and play such a big part of how you move forward. And for a company, a lot of times as a founder, when you first start out, your own values tend to bleed within the company's values, and become the heart of your mission, your vision, your goal setting for the company. And for myself, my core values are love of learning, wisdom, intelligence, authenticity, and innovation. And when we were building the company, we saw that, and the product and the blueprint as a whole, that's what we wanted to envision. We wanted to make sure that people are seeing who they are, how they are, they're understood, they're heard, they're respected, they're accepted, and the wisdom and enlightenment of understanding who you are. And when it comes to a company, we want to set that standard as well of being trusted to be truthful and authentic, and really allowing the user at the end point as well to see who they are deeply.
So good. I think with a lot of assessments like this, especially if it's something that is going to be used in decision making and management, I think there's always the fear of, do I answer this the way that I really want to answer it, or do I answer it the way that somebody above me thinks I should answer it? But in your platform, you've made it where the results are, like, personal results are private, but it surfaces team level insights, which I think is just brilliant in design.
Yes.
Why did you do it that way? I mean, how did that come about? And then how has that affected trust and adoption?
I love that you brought that up, because it was one of our principles that we wanted to go into, understanding that, yes, when employees take an assessment, or when they're asked to take an assessment, a lot of times they think, I want to be seen in the best light by HR, by my leader, by management. I'm going to try to answer this the way that I think they want me to be seen. And that can, not only does that skew results, it's not true to who the person is. So then it could really change the trajectory of what support is given by management for that person, how the team is seen as a whole. So we wanted to create that level of trust, knowing that each individual report and the answers that are provided by the individual employee are not seen by the team leaders. They get a high level view of what is needed for that individual employee to support them, to allow them to thrive, what they need to help navigate difficult situations, but they are not seen, they don't get to see the individual results. And it came about, interestingly, not that it necessarily came about, it was always something I wanted to do, but it was really pushed forward when I was having a discussion with my husband, and his company asked them to do an assessment. And when they came together to all talk about the results, he said that everybody was talking about, oh, I got to see what yours are. And, oh, I won this assessment and I did this. And it's like, there's no winning in an assessment. So taking that out, taking that fear or worry that somebody else is going to see it, can really allow the person to be true to who they are. So then your results are going to be more accurate. The suggestions are going to be more accurate, and you're really going to lay that path so that you are able to get what you need to thrive sustainably.
That's so good. I've never really thought about it that way of people winning an assessment, but
Right?
that makes so much sense. I mean, that it would feel kind of competitive, especially if you're looking at other
Yes.
people's results and you kind of know what's expected or what's desired in the company.
Right. 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 So you immediately put that out there of, okay, I know I'm going to think I know what my leader wants of me. So I'm going to answer it this
Yeah.
way. And then when you all get together and yeah, well, I won it. I'm more like that than you are or whatever. Yeah. Mhm.
Wow. That defeats the entire
Yeah.
purpose.
Right. It really does. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. Well, you said you're running lean, and I love bootstrap
Yeah.
founders, lean founders that are growing smart. Hiring and building teams is definitely a tricky thing, especially early on. How do you use your own tool or maybe your own frameworks to find the right people to work with?
Yeah, so I it wouldn't be authentic if we're asking other teams to use it if we didn't use it
Yeah,
ourselves, right? So it within our own structure, and we don't make it a requirement, but we encourage that somebody that we're taking on either as an advisory board role or an early hire, that we ask that they do take it. Not only one, they understand what they're working
yeah,
on and they can see it truly, but two, it allows us to see where their strengths lie and what they can really bring to the team and what we can do to bring the team together, the early founder team together, to utilize our skills and our expertise in ways that maybe not couldn't have been if we didn't know how their underlying wiring was and their strengths and how to communicate. I think that's a big part, a huge part of it is being able to understand how we can navigate different situations in communication, even when it comes to things like pitching or reaching out to investors, that you can really understand how you communicate can impact how you create your pitches and how you network with investors or other early team members.
that's really good. I can think of tons of founders who would have benefited from having this before, and just before they launched and really finding the right co-founder. If some of them definitely
Yeah.
had it, and but other ones,
Yeah.
there's a lot of friction. But just being able to
Yeah.
understand, what each needs from each other from the beginning would be super valuable.
Yeah. I think founder matchmaking,
Yes.
if you want to look at it a different way, you could do it as yeah, you can really vet out how well you will be able to get along and get the company to scale, knowing how well you get along. And there are certain traits that have been shown for co-founders to be able for companies to scale and founders to scale a company. And if you're able to ahead of the game understand where all the puzzle pieces fit in together with the different parties, I think you can cut through the noise, cut through the friction, and you can get a leg up faster.
Yeah, that's really, really smart. What would be your advice to founders who are trying to create personalized people first tools without crossing into territory that's invasive or overly analytical? So, and I think that your assessment has done some of that, and where you're really doing that. It is people first without being invasive, and then some of the assessments out there super super analytical.
Right. And it is, so if you take our assessment, it is a little bit longer than, say, if you take a quick personality quiz online and you get instant results. But ours is not as analytical or clinical as, say, like the MMPI, the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. But it's kind of right in the middle. So we are grounded in science and grounded in really, again, authenticity, and we vetted out the different domains we wanted. But I would say, to answer your question about what to really bring people first, I think if you, even without an assessment, if you were to just come at your team whether it's founders or your colleagues or even your staff, come at it with a curiosity and understanding that people are, everybody's different and built differently. And knowing or taking a step back instead of answering a question right away, maybe step back and ask questions as opposed to imparting your own beliefs on it. But I think your question was about creating a people first assessment. I'm not sure if I answered that all
people
the way.
first tools,
So clarify.
that's personalized, without being invasive.
So just understanding values. Again, I always bring it back to the values. I think if there's one way to do that is to and it's not necessarily invasive, but to just be curious and ponder what somebody else may value, because it is likely going to be different and it's going to drive behavior, and actions and goal setting and strategies that will work for them. Did that answer your question, Jeff?
Yes, it did.
Okay, good. Sometimes I go off on tangents and I think, I don't know if I answered that correctly, but
all good. Well, applications beyond hiring. I was just kind of thinking about that. It could be in school, education, like how do people want to learn?
Absolutely.
How do students learn? How, what is it that you can kind of guide them as they're developing, and that changes over time.
Yes.
Maybe justice system. What are some of the biggest untapped opportunities?
Oh my gosh. So it's if I were to sit down and ponder and think, if it involves humans in any way, it's got potential, right? I will say, you hit on the two big ones. Education, whether that is high schoolers that are getting ready to, which kind of path do I want to take? Do I want to go right into college? Do I want to take time off? Do I want to go into trades? Where does my personality fit, and what kind of, it could help them choose which kind of school they want to go to if they choose college. But I will say my heart lies with criminal justice. That is my background is in criminal justice. I work with offenders for nearly a decade to help them reintegrate successfully. And if I can see this going full circle, I would love to see it used in corrections, probation, pretrial services, treatment courts, because if you truly understand how somebody is wired and what they need, it could impact the different rehabilitative strategies. Instead of using a blanket policy of, you have substance use disorder, so you're going to do these meetings. Well, that might not work for somebody, and they may end up relapsing. But if you can tailor their rehab approach and the reintegration approach, I know in my heart of hearts that efforts will be better and recidivism rates would go down. And so that, I think if we could get it into areas of substance use, mental health, as a complementary tool to what they're already using to really ultra customize their intervention strategies, I could just see it making such a difference and an impact on these populations that are struggling and underserved.
That's brilliant. And I think that's just kind of the meeting of your background, behavioral science, and then just the business application.
Yeah.
It's very practical. Yeah. How do you navigate between those two worlds and making decisions, whether that's in the company itself or like the product direction?
As far as practicality versus
just behavioral science, just the background and
behavioral science. So it's almost like they intertwine so much, but you are correct, and I think this goes back to leaning on the team that we create early on as founders, and having that where I know how I'm wired, so I know that I'm very purpose driven and people oriented and behavior balanced, but I may not have that that grounding in maybe like operations or so really finding somebody that can bring harmony and balance me out and bring that practical sense, and having that sounding board really helps with that approach, because it does. It has so much parts where it could be used in so many different industries. And of course, I want to help all industries. So having the right team around you can help bring that practical sense up a bit and weed out where we go, what directions.
Oh, that's cool. I mentioned fundraising a few minutes ago, and yeah, how are you approaching fundraising? Especially if this is something that blends coaching, it's psychometrics, and SaaS in a way that I would guess most investors haven't seen before.
Yes. And it is brand new. We are in the angel round, all brand new to us. So we're just navigating really what, like you said, it's hard for investors, not hard, but it may be something they've not heard of,
Sure.
and really trying to find the language that can speak to them, and whether, if they're more of a tech-based investor, maybe we talk more about the SaaS platform and the potential that it has. And if there's somebody who's really into the human services side, we can really rely on the impact we'll have for people and human services. So it's really kind of tailoring the approach to the investors that we seek, and which side we really shine in that moment.
I'm really surprised that a venture capital company has not jumped on board quickly, just if for nothing else, for all of their portfolio companies. Because not having a
Yeah.
solution like this in there just there's a lot of hidden problems that happen, and co-founders and staff and things like that. The human element is got to be
Yeah.
the hardest thing for startups, but for established companies as well. And you take that, and now
Yes.
you've got all those case studies, and then you can take it out to mass markets. And every single company needs
Yes.
this,
Yeah.
because the cost of not having it
Yes.
is just enormous.
Oh, the United States alone, companies lose $300 billion wasted on people with turnover, burnout, just misaligned roles, tasks, inefficiency. $300 billion a year just in the United
Wow.
States. And if we understand the people behind our products, processes, and profits, I really think that that's the secret to a sustainable, successful, growing company.
Well, since this is something that's fairly new and new to the market, and your early stage, what's one principle that's helped you move forward with clarity and confidence, even when the path isn't fully mapped out?
Oh, for me, it would be leaning into the why of why I did this to begin
Love that.
with.
Why?
Why? Because we as individuals, as teams, as a society have relied heavily on labels. And while labels are really good for easily categorizing things and describing things, we either have adopted them ourselves through our environment or just culturally, that we've forgotten who we are truly behind the label. And I feel that life lives behind the labels. It lives in the gaps between the labels, and so does growth and impact, and action, and really being able to get where you're at. And so helping people reclaim not only their identity of who they really are, so that they can truly feel heard and understood and accepted, but also gives them the language to be able to do so beyond the labels, and really own that and be proud of that, and then be able, and companies and leaders to know how their team runs and not have to try to lead blindly. I think that is such a vital need in all levels, individually to company wide to societally.
That is very, very cool. I love that why. So good.
Yeah, it's finding ourselves again beyond, who we truly are, and using that to leveraging that for our own potential and company potential.
I think it's probably more important now. I mean, it's always important, but even more now as we're leaning more into technology and AI and distance and all of those things. Yeah, perfect
Yes.
timing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting too when we bringing up AI and how is that shaping. We're all learning together how it's shaping businesses and how there's shift in personnel because AI can do the things that a person may have done before, or it changes the way they do their job. So it will become a key factor to be able to, if you truly understand yourself, you know how you differentiate from AI and how you can stand apart and stand above the AI, and it can give you some leverage there.
Very, very cool. Where can people learn more about you and about INSPIRI and the Strategic Personality Blueprint online?
Well, you can go to www.inspirai.com,
Very cool.
or you can just Google it, or you can Google the Strategic Personality Blueprint. And I'd love to connect on LinkedIn as well. You can look me up on at Rachel J. Edwards.
Outstanding. We'll make sure and link that all in the show notes as well. Yeah.
Excellent.
Rachel, it's been an absolute pleasure. So much value today. Thank you for being on SaaS Fuel.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff.
Thanks again, Rachel, for coming on the show and sharing your insights and resources. You can learn more about Rachel and INSPIRI at inspiri.com. As always, all links, highlights, resources, and full show notes are available at saasfuel.com. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel as well, which is at Champion Leadership. You know, thought leaders share. Share this episode with one coworker who communicates exclusively in memes and Monday.com updates. Everyone who shares this week gets a smart fridge that only opens if your Slack status says deep work. Bonus feature, it sends motivational gifts when it detects snacks and stress eating. What does it really take to scale a new brand past 7 figures and keep it there and keep it growing? Our next guest, Matthew Stafford, shares how he has helped hundreds of companies grow beyond that through optimization, community, and simple, proven systems. You're selling online, even product-led growth, this episode is your conversion catalyst. Then after that, we have Carl Holden. He'll join us to unpack how RankBot is helping startups boost off-page SEO through smart backlinks, keyword tracking, and optimization. All of it powered by AI agents. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by SEO, this is your fast-track fix. I'll see you next time, and as always, enjoy the journey.
Thanks for listening to SaaS Fuel. Full show notes for each episode, which includes a summary, key takeaways, quotes, and any resources mentioned, are available at saasfuel.com. Be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're enjoying the content and getting value from these episodes, please leave us a rating and review at ratethispodcast.com/SaaSFuel. We'll be sure to read these out on future episodes.